So, I just watched Emilia Perez, and I'm going to give my thoughts on it because honestly, it is the most talked about movie of 2024, I believe. Like, my favorite movie of 2024 was The Substance, by the way. And I'm not for sure if I can compare any other movie to The Substance. So it definitely was my top movie of 2024. I did have a rough year, so I don't know if my memory serves me well, but I really don't think I watched anything noteworthy in all of 2024 other than The Substance. But anyways, I just watched Emilia Perez. And I wanted to give my thoughts. Disclaimer, I do not speak Spanish, and I am not from a Spanish-speaking country. I mean, you could arguably say America is a Spanish-speaking country, but I took Spanish in high school, and that is my, my limited amount of exposure to it. I mean, I also work around a lot of people that speak Spanish, but when it comes to the nuances of accents and whatnot, I am not the person that can, comment on that. So a lot of the criticism was that the Spanish in the movie was incomprehensible, and if it wasn't incomprehensible, the accents were not Mexican. So one thing that I very much do know is that there are accents. So a Spaniard speaking Spanish will not sound like a Mexican speaking Spanish, and the story is set in Mexico. So I believe the main actress, Zoe Saldana, she's not Mexican, and I believe her accent was prevalent. And then also the trans actress, I believe, is Spanish, so her accent was also prevalent. And then Selena Gomez, we'll get to her. There's a whole section for Selena Gomez. Gonna be a whole section for her in this video, but Selena Gomez definitely sounded like she does not know Spanish, and someone helped her to say her lines phonetically. Despite that, I will say that it didn't get in the way of acting, and so, I went to school for acting, and there is an exercise that we do where you can repeat the same word, or you just say gibberish, right? And the point of the exercise is for you to convey the emotion rather than relying on the text, because there's also subtext in a lot of scripts. So even though, you are literally saying this, your tone and the emotions that you're conveying can say something else. So you can literally speak gibberish and still get across what is trying to be conveyed. So because of that, I don't think it's an issue acting wise if they aren't exactly speaking the language that well, because that's only half. Saying your lines isn't even half of what acting is. Zoe and the trans actress, I forgot her name, everybody was pretty good, I believe. Like, I was buying what they were selling, if you know what I mean. I believe that they were in the scene, and I believe that they were committed, and I believe that they were feeling what they were supposed to be feeling. Whether or not they were speaking Spanish, naturally, or with an accurate Mexican accent is irrelevant to me when it comes to how well they were conveying the story and emotion. As for Selena Gomez, I cannot say the same, and I honestly don't think this has anything to do with the language, because every role I have ever seen Selena Gomez in has been the same. She is stilted and she is one note, and it seems like she really is doing the bare minimum. She shows up to set and she says her lines. And I mean, I don't know if I can whisper and mimic what I'm talking about, but okay, well, I just tried and it didn't work. I was trying to like mimic what she does with her acting, but I just can't do it in a soft spoken or a whisper. But if you've seen Only Murders in the Building, that's her most recent work. You know exactly what I mean. If you compare a scene to Only Murders in the Building and then also just watch the Emilia Perez, even though she's speaking Spanish, you know exactly what I mean. That she has this monotone, like dry, stilted way of talking, and it doesn't really matter what the scene is about. She just kind of seems like she's not in it at all. You know, I'm not buying anything because she's not selling anything. She literally is not giving anything. There's nothing there. And the emotions where she did seem like, oh, you know, it's more like, you know, she's angry and she's yelling. I wasn't buying it. It seemed like she was at a 60% when everybody else was at 100. So it was very noticeable. So Selena Gomez honestly was the worst part of the movie. And I found that surprising because the way everybody was talking about it, I was expecting everyone to, you know, be as bad as she was, but I was surprised that that wasn't the case. Everybody's acting seemed fine to me. Now, as for, you know, because this is a musical, as for the songs, I definitely remember the funny scene where, you know, penis to vagina. I see. Like, it's funny. It's so cringe. Oh my goodness, my cat. What are you doing? Are you gonna lay on my stomach? Are you serious? Oh, look, she's purring. Yeah, there's like a part during like the charity or whatever, that, you know, was very like camp, but other than that, it's giving drama for me, and so honestly, the tone seemed kind of out of place because obviously it's not impossible to do a dark comedy. It's not impossible to do a comedy drama, but to me, when there's only 2 scenes, which amount to what, like 6 minutes out of a 2-hour and 25-minute movie, there's only 2 scenes that seem comedic. You know, 6 minutes of a 2-hour and 25 movie seem comedic. You're not giving, you know, comedy or camp. You know, it's very much a drama. So at the end of the day, those scenes felt out of place. Even though, honestly, those were the most enjoyable musical numbers, honestly, in my opinion. The rest were very forgettable. And yeah, I don't know. I did like the way they filmed it, though. It really did sound like that they were singing like on set. It didn't sound like they just layered the song on top. It sounded like they were actually singing in the room, and I liked that. But nobody's singing was really like, oh my god, you know. I think a movie reviewer that I watched, he said that the trans actress who played Emilia couldn't actually sing, so they used another singer for her. But like it didn't really, I didn't, you know, sometimes it's kind of obvious, you know, but it didn't seem obvious to me, honestly. I mean, even knowing that before I went to watch the movie, I didn't really, like, it wasn't bothersome. And I barely noticed it, if at all, you know, so I don't know. But, so yeah, as a musical, I don't really see it being that great because it wasn't that memorable, and, you know, the tone of it just seemed weird because a lot of it was very serious and dramatic, and then there's just randomly two funny, campy numbers, and then that's that. Now, another criticism people get is like, a misrepresentation, and, everybody really wants to be gung-ho about representation. And, like, I think it's just kind of impossible to cram into one movie, like, all the sorts of representation that can be of one subject, like, I don't know. I feel like people ask too much of one project. Let me see if I can really tell you what I mean. So, like in media, I understand that, this thing is portrayed this way and we're tired of seeing that. Perfectly valid. So then the next movie that has that, deals with that same subject, then it's like, well, you didn't exactly do that right. Yeah, I do find it weird that, someone who wasn't from Mexico and then no one on set. And it seemed like, judging from what Mexicans are saying, it seemed like they weren't researched or well advised on Mexican culture and whatnot. I can see how that can be offensive. But, me personally, I just don't have a personal, I can't relate. I don't understand because, I think it's more sensitive because we're dealing with the cartel. Like, that's a way heavier subject than just, oh, you spoke my language weird, because, I've seen plenty of dramas where the person will start speaking English and it'll, even in the script, they will say, wow, your English is really good. But it is the most, weirdest, out of place, terrible accent, you know what I mean? Terrible grammar, terrible accent. It sounds really, robotic. And then, we're expected to think that that's good English. And I've always just laughed at that. I've never felt, personally offended. But I think, because we're dealing with a heavier subject of cartel and, people's lives are actually genuinely affected by that in very negative ways, it does seem a bit like maybe you don't want to tread those waters if you're not going to hold respect to that, And I don't know. Like I said, I don't have any personal connection to that, so I can't really speak on it, but I can definitely see how people are offended by that. But at the same time, I don't think it was the, intention of the film to be like, this is a perfect representation of what happens, but I feel like, you have to, if you want to do a whimsical this or a whimsical that, or a fun, it can't be this or can't be that, you have to really be careful of your subject matter, because if it's a very real thing and it's a very real dark thing, you have to understand how that's going to be taken. I say, go all the way into fantastical, go all the way into fantasy, and, create a metaphor for whatever you want to talk about in a fantasy lens, so that way it's not exactly, oh, this is the cartel, Now, another criticism is that Emilia Perez, the character, she's to be sympathized with, oh, she's this cartel boss and kills all these people, but as soon as she transitions, you're supposed to root for her, and she's the good guy. And I really don't think that was the, purpose. My favorite movie is American Psycho, so, I am no stranger to the main character, being someone that you're not supposed to root for. I can even bring up one of my favorite TV shows, Dexter, and my all-time favorite TV show, Tony Soprano, The Sopranos. You're not really supposed to be rooting for Tony. Tony is horrific. He's horrific of a character every time I rewatch it, which has been 80 times. I hate Tony more and more. Bobby Baklava is the only redeemable character in all of just bring that up to say that like it's possible to follow a character and then there be like, you know, the quote unquote protagonist, but you're not supposed to be like, oh yes, they're such a good guy. Like that's not the point always, you know. We've moved on from that, you know, typical narrative structure. You can follow a bad guy. And I think, you know, there's this scene where Zoe's character is talking to the doctor and he's like, you know, I can change their gender, but I can't change their soul. You know, I can't heal their soul. You know, whatever they think this sex change is gonna fix, it's not gonna fix their soul. And I think that's kind of the point that they were going for. It wasn't really about, oh, you know, now that, you know, she's had a sex change, she's a good person and she's absolved of, you know, all her murders and whatnot. I don't think that's what they were going for. And I think, you know, me thinking that is only further proven with that line where he says, I can't change, you know, her soul. So, and I think that's what the movie was going for. It's that like, oh, like, she transitions and she starts to feel guilt about this and that and whatnot, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of people would agree that you kind of need to go to jail. Sorry, like, that's how you repent for that. Yeah, there's no other way to really repent for that than go to jail, and even that, honestly, in some it really can't be enough. You like murdering and torturing children, and it's just I'm sorry. Like, what? How can you come back from that? I don't know. But you know, she starts this non-profit to help people, and it's just like I don't know. Like, imagine like your close relative, your son, your daughter, your mom, you know, your brother, your sister gets murdered, and then years later the person that was behind that murder helps you find their body. Like, what? I don't know if that's worse, honestly. Like, what? Yeah, that's crazy to me. And so I don't think the movie was trying to be like, oh yeah, they're such a better person now. Like, I think that's what it was proving, that like, you know, she didn't actually change at all. And then, yeah, I don't really think there were any like redeemable characters that were necessarily like you're rooting for, because at the end of the day, the lawyer that helped him transition to a woman, let's be honest, she took blood money. Like, he didn't pay for that surgery with magic. That was blood money. You know, that wasn't hard-earned money. That was literally blood money. So the doctor took blood money and the lawyer took blood money and was living very comfortably off of that. Really no guilt at all associated with that. And so I just feel like there's not really like anybody that's like, oh yeah, this is a good person, and they're trying to make you feel like they're a good person. So yeah, I don't know. I'm basically just making this video because I feel like a lot of the criticisms that are brought up that I just mentioned in this video, it's just kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I feel like people are exaggerating a bit because, like I said, I was expecting way worse. It definitely does not deserve to be Best Picture, 100,000%. But I was expecting a train wreck. I was expecting to be cringing like the whole movie, and yet, like, I cringed once, and mostly at Selena Gomez. So, like, literally Selena Gomez was the worst part of the movie, and like, she wasn't in too much of it. So, yeah, I just thought that was wild. I was really ready to watch like the cringiest movie ever, and I didn't. So, I don't know. I feel like people are over exaggerating. Again, it's a lot worse, I'm pretty sure, if you are Mexican and you can hear the accents and the slurred words and stuff. So it's like, you know, it's super cringe that way. But like I said, I didn't have that to go off of. But it was very apparent that Selena was like really bad. Even speaker, like I could just hear that she was like, girl, like, are you even trying right now? And so yeah, I love you know, Selena Gomez's first album. She wasn't even just Selena, she was Selena Gomez. And the scene, okay, I love that Kiss and Tell album. But other than that, I am not a gung-ho fan or anything. And I think her fans, honestly, I might be signing my death certificate with this in what I've already said, but I'll go further and say her fans are crazy. I randomly went on Justin Bieber's account just because he was, you know, suggested to me, and I was like, oh, I wonder what, you know, he's posting about. And it was full of Selena Gomez fans in the comments saying, ha, she's engaged now, ha, you know, like flooding his comments all about Selena. And like, didn't they like break up when they were 16 or 17? And I'm pretty sure they're in their 30s, or at least almost 30. And Justin has been married with a kid for a while, and now Selena Gomez is getting married, and yet the fans are still harassing each other. Like, Justin fans harass Selena, and Selena fans harass Justin. Like, what is going on? You all are crazy. Like, please get a life. Like, do not worship these people that you don't even know. I don't understand. Selena Gomez is a human being, which means she, you know, can have criticism on her. And like, I don't know her like personally, but I do know her art, and art can be criticized. And you know, I don't think she's that strong vocally, but she's definitely a way better singer than an actor, and I'm surprised she still even gets roles. It's amazing that she gets roles because, yeah. So yeah, Selena Gomez was the worst part of Emilia Perez. It wasn't that bad, but it definitely wasn't good. I would never watch it again. And yeah, I finished my little painting. Isn't it so pretty? So yeah, that was my little take. I hope that I'm okay after this video, because like I said, y'all be crazy.